My name is E. Joseph Cossman, and during this program, I'm going to show you some little-known secrets that brought me over $25 million. I know that sounds like an amazing statement, but by the end of this program, you will know three things. You will know how I did it, you will know how my students did it, and most important of all, you will know how you can do it. In addition to those rewards, you will get something else by watching this program. If you are locked into a 9-to-5 job, this program will show you how to break out of that mold and start an enterprise on your own without quitting your job. If you are in your own business, this program will show you how to increase your business without increasing your overhead. And if you are starting in business for the very first time, regardless of your age, your color, your education, your financial condition, this program will show you how to take your abilities and turn that into an enterprise that will support you in style for the rest of your life. A few months ago, somebody asked me, Joe, how can I find a job that will pay me $2,000 a month and in 3 years allow me to work up to $100,000 a year? My reply to that person was, hire yourself. Give yourself a monthly salary of $5,000 and in 3 years walk away with $1 million. Some time ago, I found the tooling for this spud gun, advertised in a trade magazine. What is a spud gun? It's a little toy pistol that shoots potato pellets from an ordinary potato. Perfectly harmless because the nibs of the potato is 98% water and will not harm a child. I bought the tooling for this gun, the molds, for $500. And in 6 months, I sold over 2 million spud guns. I've had 20 big winners in my lifetime. I call a winner any product I sold 1 million or more of. You want to know something interesting? Out of those 20 winners, I only created 2 of them. The other 18 I found from manufacturers who did not know how to market, and I got the exclusive rights to those other 18. But to get back to the 2 that I did create, one of them was the famous ant farm. The ant farm is a scientific toy used by children to watch ants working underground. I guess almost every school in the country now has an ant farm in its science class. Today, my brother-in-law sells at least 1 million ant farms a year. And this is what happens when you can have control of a product. Another thing you can do, you can spread out that product. Once we had the ant farm on the market, we introduced it over in Europe. This is a French ant farm. How many times have you read a newspaper or a magazine and found a story in there describing an interesting product or service? And you say to yourself, that would make a good product or service to put on the market. And you don't do anything about it, you just turn the page. Well, that'll never happen to you again after taking my home study course, because I'm going to show you an example that will stay in your mind for the rest of your life. What is it? Some time ago, I was reading an article in the paper describing a product called Halt, used by mailmen to prevent dog bites. A ferocious dog approaches the mailman. The mailman merely squirts in the dog's face. It disorients the dog for 10 minutes with no ill effect to the animal. I wrote to the people who made this product and I asked them, could you make a similar product for me called Rebuff? I want women to carry it in their purse as a deterrent in case they get mugged. The people on the phone said, no problem. We'll put it in the same container. We'll even put your name on and you'll look like the manufacturer. I want you to know that in 6 months, I sold 300,000 Rebuff at $2.98 each. On my word of honor, I never met the manufacturer. I never visited his factory. All I did was send him labels, and he did the drop shipping for me. Now, could you do something like that with my direction? You certainly could.
And now let's join the world's most famous millionaire entrepreneur, Mr. E. Joseph Cossman, while he shares with us his secrets for success. Now, speaking of success, I see here that you have what you call 10 steps to success. Could you give us those 10 steps to success?
Yes, Robert. As I look back on my business career, and it was very, very successful, I realized that I had been subconsciously following 10 steps from the very beginning. And these steps are applicable to anyone watching this program. If you want to start a business or you already are in business, these steps are applicable. The first step is to realize that you're going to go into business. By that I mean you can't write to all the sources I give you on tablet paper. You must look like you're in business. So the first step would be to get some business stationery printed. Isn't a big investment. Get maybe 500 letterheads printed, 500 envelopes printed, so you can correspond with the business world.
I see.
The second step is to find a product or service. The only criteria I want you to follow is don't touch a product or service unless you get a proprietary interest in it. What I mean by that is don't touch anything unless every time it's sold, part of the profit has to come back to you. If it doesn't come back to you, don't touch it. This immediately eliminates all the Mickey Mouse ways people try to make money. The third step is to, once you've found a product, test it before you put money into it. Is it any good? Does it follow certain rules and criteria that I tell you to follow? After testing, the fourth step is to protect it. And your government has several excellent ways of protecting your ideas and products through patents, copyrights, and trademarks. After you've protected the item, you're now ready to test it on the market by putting out publicity releases. And the reason I want you to do publicity releases is it's a very inexpensive way of marketing and producing and distributing your product before you spend money on ads. The sixth way is 22 different ways to sell your product or service. If you look around at the different people that are marketing today, you'll find out that they only sell their product 2 or 3 conventional ways. They'll sell to a wholesaler who sells to a storekeeper who sells to the consumer. Yet there are 22 different ways. And believe me, you don't need the exclusive rights to all 22 ways. One way in your field of interest can support you in style for the rest of your life. After the 22 ways, I now want you to look at other areas that you can market. And one of the most prolific areas in the United States and Canada is direct mail, where you use a postage stamp as your salesman, as I said earlier, and an envelope as your briefcase. After direct mail, I want you to get a little more sophisticated. Go into trade shows. That's the 7th way. There are trade shows in every major city in the United States and Canada, 15,000 of them. Find out what trade shows are in your field of interest. When are they coming to your city? Go as an exhibitor or go as an observer, but become familiar with trade shows. After trade shows, I now want you to lean on one of the most prolific sources you have in your country, and that is government services. If you're not taking advantage of government services, you're throwing money away because you have helped create these services through your taxes. Some services the government has developed at costs of millions of dollars that are yours for the asking in many cases, without any money, just for the asking. So look at government services. How can they apply to your particular needs and requirements? And after government services, I want you to start using them. World is your oyster. Foreign trade.
You know, everybody dreams about doing something. Everybody dreams about having something by the time they're a certain age. Well, I had those dreams, and I was at that point in my life where those dreams weren't being fulfilled. And as a result, you know, I needed somebody to be my mentor. I needed somebody to show me what to do and how to do it. And that was Cossman. You know, it was laid out. He lays it out like a roadmap. He lays it out so that it's very clear, it's very simple. You can take one step right after another. He puts the stepping stones so that you can follow it. And I mean, his program isn't magic. I mean, he spent 25 years working at it, developing it, and it's there. Now, some people will work at it, and some people won't. And it just so happened that I believed in it enough that I followed it, and I didn't deviate. I didn't try to put my, say, well, that's good, but I'm going to do it my way. I said, I'm going to do it his way, because it obviously works. And here I am, after starting from a garage operation 2.5 years ago, very little capital, very little working capital, to running a $3 million operation.
I took Joe Cossman's seminar, and I went to the movie Star Wars. When I walked out of the film, I thought, man, the toy potential from this movie is going to be so colossal. You've got to get a piece of this. I wasn't sure what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted some of that action. So I walked down Hollywood Boulevard, kind of lost in thought, and I pulled into a little sporting goods store. And as I was wandering through the store, I picked up a flashlight. And in another section of the store, I found this golf tube. I thought, boy, there might be something there. So I took it home to my little rented apartment, and I glued it together, and I made a little laser sword. I thought, that's a product. I turned off the lights, and I played with it in the mirror, and I thought, this is incredible. I showed it to some friends. They said, great, it's a great product. What are you going to do with it? I don't know. I had one handmade prototype and no idea what I was going to do. So a friend said, let's go to the Joe Cossman seminar. Why not? I went to the Joe Cossman seminar. I got a product. I got purchase orders, but I got no money. What am I going to do? He said, Gary, sell the foreign rights. What a great idea. I sold the foreign rights for $30,000 to Mexico. They gave me the seed money to start up my company in Los Angeles. And I sold 3.5 million units.
I want to back up just a little bit. You started out by talking about a proprietary interest. You mean an exclusive right?
Right.
Okay. How does someone like myself or one of our viewers, how do we get a proprietary interest?
You do it in one of two ways. You either invent something yourself. It's your invention. Mm-hmm. No matter who buys it, part of the profit is going to come back to you, right?
Yes.
Or, better yet, you find a manufacturer making a product in your field of interest. I keep saying in your field of interest, and I say it for a reason. If you get into a field you're not interested in, it's a hard way to make money. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's a hard way to make money. So always start with something you enjoy doing. So look into yourself. What do you enjoy doing? Forget about the money. What do you enjoy doing? And once you have focused on that, I show you at least 20 different ways that you can find products in that field. Products that are only being sold in a very limited way. But let's assume that you are manufacturing something. Let's assume that you're manufacturing glasses, and you're only selling these glasses in the United States. You're doing a nice job, but you're only selling them in the United States. I call you and I ask you, Robert, are you selling your glasses to mail order houses? You say no. Are you selling your glasses overseas? You say no. Are you selling your glasses to government post exchanges? You say no. Are you selling your glasses door to door? You say no. Are you selling your glasses through multi-level companies? You say no. Are you selling your glasses as a premium? You say no. Are you selling your glasses as an advertising specialty? You say no. 99% of the time you will say no. Now, if I can come back and ask you for the rights to any one of those fields, or all of those fields that you're not selling your glasses, what do you have to lose by giving me those rights? You're not touching that market anyway. And I can, as I said earlier, I can make you more competitive with the markets you're now selling the glasses to if I can increase your sales in fields that are non-competitive to you. And that is the secret of success in the United States and Canada, to get control of a product or service so every time it is sold, part of the profit comes back to you. That is a money machine. And while you're sleeping in your hometown, that little piece of paper giving you those rights is making money for you in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. As I look back on my business career of 25 years of successful businesses, I realize I have been following a formula that I consider a business secret, and I'm going to share it with you. And what is that secret? To never touch a product or service unless every time it is sold, part of the profit has to come back to you. If it doesn't come back to you, don't touch it. Let me give you an example of how I apply that principle. What is this? This is the classified section of my daily newspaper. Would you believe that by reading this section, I developed a business that gave me $2 to $3 million a year? What was that business? Well, some time ago I picked up the classified and I see a little 3-line ad. Send us $1, we'll send you 2 fly cake, it kills flies. That's all the ad said. I ordered one of these fly cake and was surprised to see the unusual product this man developed. A solid insecticide shaped like a donut, and when a fly touched it, the fly died. I called the man on the phone. I asked him, where'd you get this incredible product? He said, my partner and I were in chemical warfare during World War II, and we were given the unusual job of finding an effective fly killer for the South Pacific. We developed the concept of a solid insecticide that would last for a year. When a fly touched it, he died. I asked him over the phone, how do you sell this fly cake? He said, we only sell it one way. We sell it with a 3-line classified ad. I couldn't believe my ears. Here's a man with an amazing product, only selling it one way. I asked him over the phone, can I have the exclusive rights to your product? We negotiated, and you never pay for these rights. I want to make that clear. We negotiated, we signed a little piece of paper giving me the rights to this product. In 3 years, I sold 8 million fly cake. You couldn't go anywhere in the world without finding fly cake. Here's fly cake as it was advertised in Japan. Here's fly cake in Germany. Here's fly cake in France. We had it scattered all over the world. And I'll tell you a little secret. That piece of paper is worth its weight in gold. A year or two after I signed the exclusive rights to fly cake, I went over to Europe. And I signed an agreement with a large company over there that gave me $50,000 a year for 17 years. All I had to do was give them part of the rights of my letter. This is one of the 17 different ways I show you how to get the exclusive rights to a product, and once you tie up those rights, what to do with those rights.
Joe lays that out. He says how to find a product with very little or no money. And so I wrote away, and I received inquiries, or I wrote inquiries to different companies. And I found in a foreign trade magazine, as I was shown in the seminar, about the Ford polypropylene wheelbarrow. And so I wrote away. It was in Holland. I wrote away, and surprisingly enough, Robert, I asked for the exclusive rights for Canada and the United States, just as Joe says. I was surprised. Got the letter back. We had some communication, and they gave me the rights for North America.
How much did that cost?
Not a cent. It was beautiful. It was just as he laid out in his program. Here's how you do it, and you don't have to fill up a warehouse. You don't have to, invest a lot of money. We started with a few samples, took it out. Those few samples, we picked up some orders, and we did it directly. We had, from those orders, shipments that went right to the client. All we did is handle money, which isn't all that bad either.
That sounds tremendous, but it also, I must admit, it sounds expensive. What is an exclusive right, a proprietary interest? What does that cost?
You never pay for the exclusive rights to a product or service. There are some rip-offs in the country that may try to load you up with inventory. There are some rip-offs in the country that say, okay, give me $50,000 and you can have their rights. You walk away from things like that because there are more products looking for people like you than there are people like you looking for products. Walk away. One of my students, he's only interested in mail order. He's not interested in the other 21 ways. He's just interested in mail order. Well, very few companies sell their product by mail order. What does he do? He contacts a manufacturer. Can I have the mail order rights to your product? That's all I want. He usually gets it. Most manufacturers have photographs of their products, so he leans on their resources. He gets a photograph of the product, reproduces it. Now, there are 8,000 mail order houses in the United States covering every type of field you can think of.
8,000?
8,000. And he picks out the ones that are specific to that product and solicits them. That man has yet to make less than $100,000 a year. If you have a product that can be sold by mail order, offer it to mail order houses and let them run the ads.
Hello, I'm Gord Gunoff. and I'd like to tell you how E. Joseph Cossman dramatically changed my life. I ordered his home study course, and within 2 weeks, I had obtained the exclusive rights to a cassette product that features imitations of famous celebrities that you transfer onto your answering machine, and they will answer the phone for you. Here's the product. E. Joseph Cossman's home study course showed me how I could take this product, manufacture it, and distribute it under exclusive distributorship in my name. That means that now that it's being done on a national scale, and since I have the exclusive rights, that every time that product is sold, a piece of the profit comes back to me because I own the exclusive rights for it. What do I have to say? E. Joseph Cossman, thank you. You've certainly shown me the way.
Hi, I'm Dr. Murray Davidson. I'm a podiatrist, a foot doctor, and I've treated thousands of patients in 20 years of practice. When my son came home from a Pop Warner football practice one Saturday afternoon with sore heels, that was really a problem. The coach said to me, "Well, you're a foot doctor, and your boy can hardly walk." That's very embarrassing and very frustrating. What I did then was I went to the books, and I studied the heel all over again. And I found out that in the heel, there are tiny little columns of cells that act as little shock absorbers in the heel. What I did then was invented a product called Thule shock absorbers for the feet, a little heel cup that has ribs that deflect, just like the heel shock absorber. Well, I had a product now, and I didn't know what to do with it. His friends' parents used to come into my office and ask, "Hey, we want a pair of those heel cups for our son." I knew a product would work. I had to find a way to market it. So what I did was I was watching television one night, and I saw Joe Cossman's home study course advertised. Well, I purchased it. And sure enough, I followed the directions that Joe Cossman gives in his course. And I did exactly what Joe said. The first thing we did was we gave out press releases and pictures, and we got lots and lots of free publicity worth thousands of dollars in national magazines, radio, and TV. The next thing I did was I went to a sporting good trade show, and I rented a small booth, one of the smallest in the whole room, and I found that I soon had lines and lines of people lined up waiting to purchase our product, people who wanted to distribute our product. I also went to the U.S. government and used the U.S. commercial newsletter, which in effect gives you a free ad in all the countries throughout the free world. What happened was we got 400 responses from different traders in every country in the world. And out of that, we got 8 good distributors who distribute thousands and thousands of pairs of our product outside the U.S. Well, one thing led to another. From the heel cups, we developed other products. And now we have a whole rack of products that are printed in 9 languages and sold throughout the world. People ask me now, how does it feel not being a foot doctor, being a businessman? And I tell them, you know, while I'm sleeping, we're selling heel cups in Thailand. People in Indonesia are being relieved of sore heels and sore backs and sore knees. It's great. And all you have to do is follow Joe Cossman's home study course, and you can take any product that's good and broadcast it throughout the world successfully.
Mr. Cossman, I notice here in your course that a very important section is how to test a product. What's so important about testing a product? What do you mean by testing it?
Well, testing is important because it tells you what direction to take. Unfortunately, a lot of people come up with a product or service or an idea, and they become emotional over it, and they forget about testing. And that traffic light is saying red, 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 and all they see is green. Before you spend a penny on your product or idea, there are certain foolproof ways of testing. In my course, I give you at least 20 ways to test something before you invest your money in it. And one example, you don't need 1,000 of something. The average person will make tooling and molds before they test. I show you where 1 is as good as 10,000 because you can get the same answers with a sample than you can with 10,000. So the first thing I want you to do is to only make 1 of your product or your idea or your service. Make a prototype, that's what it's called. And with that prototype, you can now show it to experienced buyers. You can put out a publicity release. You can offer it to mail order houses. Be prepared to make more, but don't make any financial commitments until you've gotten answers through your testing. Once you see the end of the tunnel and you know you have a winner, okay, you can spend more money. But up until that point, don't spend it. I have a check chart in my course showing you how to improve a product 20 different ways.
I felt that I was trapped into the job I was doing. I didn't feel I had control with my own life, and I knew that I didn't plan to be there in 2 or 3 years' time, and I needed something to launch me into my own business, and I didn't have the experience to go out there and start my own business just right away. I needed something to help me. That's why I took Cossman's course. I had all these ideas. I didn't know how to go about getting to those goals, and through the course I learned that the most important thing is to believe in yourself. And I was able to go out there and start the company. Within 3 weeks of taking the course, I had my own company formed. It's so easy to go out there and find a product, or the business, the locksmith business I'm in. You can go out there and use the course to market yourself, to get a share of the market, not just to exist, but to have a major share of a big, a competitive market. It showed me how to do that very easily without any problem at all. This is the product here. It's the Securacraft Secure Chain, and this is one of many products that has a completely concealed chain. Unlike the other chains that have the chain hanging down the door, this one here is completely inside the door, as you can see here. And when you release it with a small switch here, it's fully open. I wrote to the factory because I was aware of another product they had. They offered me the whole product line free of charge, no cost to me whatsoever, just an obligation to do my best to sell their product. Since we spoke a year ago, my sales were around $10,000 because I just started selling. And through the whole product line and my companies that I have formed, we sold $250,000 last year. And the next year we plan to sell $500,000. That's $500,000, and that's in my second year.
The promise of America is not to work for other people. The promise of America is to be your own individual, your own boss. And that is what I teach if you want to reduce it to bottom line. This country's inducive to making money once you learn the system, and it's not difficult to learn the system.
I noticed that one of your more recent success stories is a gentleman with of all things, a plastic wheelbarrow. Can you tell us a little bit about Bob Hall?
Yeah, this gentleman's a classic example of my telling you that all you need is postage and stationery. A classic example. Here's a gentleman who came to my seminar, has 3 children, always under financial pressures, drifted from job to job, and in effect, this man was really an entrepreneur in employees' clothing. After the seminar, he took some of the contacts I give you, some of the foreign magazines, and he began soliciting people, only with postage and stationery. He found a manufacturer in Amsterdam, Holland, who made, of all things, a plastic wheelbarrow. Now, what's unusual about a plastic wheelbarrow? First of all, it's lightweight. Second, it won't corrode. It never needs painted. It's competitively priced. And strange as it may seem, there's a company making a plastic wheelbarrow for 30 years and never sold one in the United States or Canada. And this is a good object lesson. Don't try to second guess that why should that man give me his product? It's been on the market so long. So he wrote to this company. They gave him the exclusive rights to United States and Canada, no charge, for the plastic wheelbarrow. And he went one step further. He got the company to carry the account, which means that he did not have to pay for the wheelbarrows until the customer paid them.
He literally had no money in this at all?
No money at all. Time, effort, postage, stationery, but no money. So he orders a sample wheelbarrow. That was his investment. He shows it around his town, and he found out he had a winner.
My name is Bob Hall, and I graduated from the Joe Cossman Seminar 2.5 years ago. From the seminar, I learned how to find a product, get the exclusive rights, how to promote it, and the many ways of selling it with little or no money on my part. I never knew how to do this before taking the seminar. Foreign trade had always intrigued me because you could get into it with very little investment. From the seminar, I learned about foreign trade magazines. And in one of them, I found the Ford polypropylene wheelbarrow made in Holland. It was easy to handle. It was lightweight. It won't rust. It won't dent. It's good for manure and cement. It was priced right, and it was easy to assemble in less than 5 minutes. So we rode away to the company, as I learned in the seminar, asking for the exclusive rights for Canada and the United States. And I'll tell you, friends, we were surprised how easy it was to get these rights without spending a penny for them. We started with a few samples, and we took them around and picked up a few orders. This was enough to get us started. Then I found that trade shows were a good way to market the product, and so now I travel across Canada and the United States, displaying the wheelbarrow and picking up orders. The first year, we sold 25,000 units, did about $1 million in business. The second year, we sold almost 50,000 wheelbarrows, which were about $2 million. This year, we expect to exceed better than $3 million. All of this starting from my basement with very little working capital. And, you know, friends, we wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to do it without taking the Cossman program, and I owe all of my present success to that.
I would say that if they have any hesitation whatsoever to take the course, that they should set down some goals in their life and see if they can achieve those goals in the present job they're in the present situation they're in. And if they don't feel they can achieve those goals, then I would say that the course that Mr. Cossman offers can get to those goals in half the time that they would expect. It is just incredible.
I call an entrepreneur the guerrilla fighter of capitalism. He does not conform to regulations or rules. He strikes out on his own. He's original. And if you will think about it, all the progress in this country, in Canada or United States, all that progress was made by entrepreneurs, not by corporations. And I'm telling anyone watching this program to become an entrepreneur. It's much easier than you think, and it's a very exciting way to live. So if you ask me, does it take any skill? Does it take education? Does it take know-how? Does it take contacts? I say no, because I speak from experience. All it takes, believe me, is direction. You can have the best product in the world. You can have the best motivation in the world. You can have the best education in the world. You can have all the money in the world. But if you don't have direction, you'll never go anywhere. And that's what I teach. I teach direction.
You can purchase the Cossman Home Study Program, which shows you step by step how to build your own business at www.cossman.com.